For sure, we need some controls in the sport to make it more of a level playing field. The big teams can say tough, but eventually you'll have one person racing themselves, and then what kind of race is it? If you take that to its extreme and you say, right, this is a meritocracy, only the winner gets any form of money from the commercial rights holder, and nobody else does, then who's the winner going to be racing? Themselves? So we do need some of those controls, and we do need to make it a level playing field. And if the bigger teams want to spend more money, they should be allowed to spend that money. It's just at the margin, the additional or incremental spend shouldn't have such a big impact on performance.
Is Formula One, though, for Force India affordable?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's up to us on how much money we spend. So we shouldn't, and we don't spend above our means. It's just a matter of competitiveness. And like I say, if the regulations are such that the marginal spend doesn't get you as much performance, then we'll all be better off.
And when you have your conversations with the bosses of the other teams, what are they saying to you about the long-term viability of the sport? Because you're right, if it's an unfair sport or seen as an unfair sport, then its credibility weakens. And yet at the same time, when you go to far-flung parts of the world, you see massive crowds. So it's obviously doing something right, and that may not help Force India and other teams like you, but it's still drawing in the punters.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think there needs to be a strategic look at the sport and how the regulations and the spend has an impact on competitiveness. It was not long ago where American sports, for example, the NFL, had no restrictions on player salaries in football. And they found that maybe New York or Los Angeles or some of the bigger cities that it could afford, because of the punters coming and paying more for their seats, could afford more expensive players. They thought, we're going to have one or two cities winning the Super Bowl every year. Is that good for our sport? And they said, no, it's not, and started with a salary cap. And they had no issues with teams going bankrupt or not competing, but they just had the foresight to say, we need to regulate what's happening here for the good of the sport, because they understood the NFL, the National Football League, competes with baseball, competes with ice hockey, competes with basketball, competes with some other sports, and they wanted their sport to attract more punters, as you say, or money, or spectators, and they did that in a rational and strategic way, and the sport's grown. And I think a similar thing could happen in Formula One.